black women are biologically different than white women.
Yes, they have different fertility windows. They have a higher rate of fertility complications, 50%
There's
higher
no
rate.
scientific evidence to prove that a black woman and a white woman are genetically different, right? This is like...
What are you talking about?
This is according...
Yeah.
No.
Like literally, there are genes that code for their skin color.
And this is like government data. This is EMI, right? This is the National Institute of Health. This is the American Medical Association. Like there is no scientific evidence to prove that.
And that's a big problem, right? Because
No. Black people are genetically different from other populations.
I'll say that again. There is no scientific evidence to prove that, right? And as people
I'm sorry. I'm stating. Do you want to ask an AI if there's scientific evidence to prove that?
No, I want to ask.
No, because what you're
based
stating is just factually incorrect. Humans are genetically diverse. It's not a bad.
I think it's a bad or a good thing. I'm saying there is no scientific evidence.
And I'm saying that is a factually.
And he's saying that there is scientific
evidence. There is scientific evidence. There is overwhelming scientific evidence.
Based on,
and this basics. No. This is like saying the sky is not blue. Like, it is genes that code their skin color, right? Those genes are obviously different in them than they are in us. How is that not science? That's just like a basic fact. The genes that code their skin color, their level of melanin production, are different from my genes that code.
Because I think for some people that do believe, like you, that people are genetically different, that has historically been used to promote racial hierarchies, right? And that's why I'm asking you.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. So I just let that play the whole thing through so you could hear it. Fair use. But basically that's you heard the whole thing there, right? And you can look it up. This journalist or whatnot trying to argue that there's no scientific evidence of a genetic differences between ethnicities, which here she used the example of black women and white women, right? So the reason I played this is because I've seen this video before. I've come across it before, but I recently came across it again, and it just it sparked a thought, right? Because you have some people wonder why it is that when we prophesy so vehemently against this place, right? And we're so eager for the Lord to bring down this place, even though it's going to be a devastating and great destruction. But this is a very, very, very light, all right, very light example, but it's still an example or it's still a video that exemplifies some of the root causes of the corruption of the world today, right? This stems from, obviously, lies and stuff that have been pushed. She mentioned the American Medical Association, I think it was the NIA and so on, or NIH or whatever the acronym is for that. But they push these things. And this is not true. But they, as the scriptures say, let me actually get that to start off. Here in 1 Timothy 6:20, right? And as the Apostle Paul was admonishing, or, basically Timothy, he said here, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust," right? So you could say he was, instructing him, right? Keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings. Somebody tries to come to you with that, they're trying to engage in vain babblings. Because when you can understand the premise that they're starting with is already false and it's madness, it's going to be a waste of your time. Okay? It's going to be a waste of your time because clearly they're not trying to even understand common sense. That's the danger here. When they throw something, just like they did in the reverse, whatever they just threw the label conspiracy theory on, it just became, an opinionated, extreme view of some crazy guy, right? It's not fact anymore. It doesn't matter. Likewise, they think that just by throwing out, oh, this is the research done by Johns Hopkins University, or the American Medical Association published this paper or this article. They're people, right? They're human beings that do that, and they also follow some agenda and curriculum as well. So since when were they the body of authority? And you mean to tell me that their words supersede the words of the Creator who created even them, right? So going back. Oh, but the point I was making here is, they push all of this, and even when you go up and up and up and up the chain of command of the power structure in the world today, run by these different rich banking families, and these, they call themselves elites. They know the things that are common sense. They know that, but they push these theories upon people and have the masses believe that, but they themselves know what the truth is. Okay, they're not deceived by the very same lies they tell you. If somebody's telling you a lie, then clearly they know the truth, but you believe their lies as its truth. And that's why you have somebody gets on here and I mean, she's doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on something that should be common sense. That's why the guy was he's baffled. He's like actually surprised in his mind, like, wait, hold on one second. Like, am I missing something here? Anyway, let's finish this precept. It says here, in vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called, right? Which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be to thee, amen. Because if you don't stick to the scriptures and you try to, say, scientifically, you go and do first off, scientifically, you, not even the top scientists understand how the human body fully works. Do you know how big of a medical community there is on just trying to understand certain parts of the brain? Okay, when you go into the medical field, there's so many different kinds of practice. And why is that? Because they're still trying to figure out things about the body. They're still finding out new things about the body that they didn't even know. And all of a sudden, their word it triumphs what the Lord has said. Guess what? There is a genetic difference. When you go back to Genesis, even in the example of Jacob and Esau, the Lord said, 2 manner of people are in thy womb, and they were going to be separated. There's a difference in genetics, and that is, I mean, common sense. That's the point the guy was getting across. And I guess I'll use this term, loosely, because, it's not really scary to us, but the scary fact about this is this lady, now it could be that she's just saying that because it's her job and that's how she has to present, the question, or she actually believes that. And not just her, but you have people that actually believe that try to argue the case to say that, no, she's correct. That's the scary part. The scary part is that somebody will believe a narrative over common sense, right? And just like he said, if honestly, I mean, if there was this was the statement, right? No genetic difference between, she said, black men and white women, then they would all look the same, would they not? The last time I checked, it is your genes that determine what you end up even looking like. So if there is no difference, do you understand what that actually means when you say there's no difference between one thing and another? That means they're the same, right? So if you're saying there's no genetic difference between a black woman and a white woman, then then there shouldn't even be the term black woman and white woman. They should just be woman. Everybody should look exactly the same, sound the same, because there is no difference. Like if when you have, say, for example, things like cake, right? Cake follow a formula, right? To make. You have certain instructions that say, okay, you put this, put that, do this, do that. If you were able to do it exactly the same, then it will come out looking that way. But now you go and add sweetener instead of sugar, or you go and replace this, or you don't put, you don't put any sort of leavening agent. It's obviously going to turn out differently, right? So the word, like, when you say there's no difference, but then you turn around and you can clearly, even if you took a white woman and or even a doll, a white looking, I'm using these terms loosely, right? But you take a white doll and a black doll, and you put it before a child, and you were to say, hey, what's the difference between the two? Even a toddler could tell you what the difference is between the two. But according to the data, according to the science. You got to trust the science. If this is the science you got to trust, you are, like Paul said, men most miserable. You are beyond cooked. Because soon science will tell you, no, you can't drink water. Matter of fact, you got to drink water once a day. You're thirsty, but no. The thirst is actually the proof that you ain't supposed to be drinking water. That's the kind of shit they're going to come out with and tell you, and people are going to believe that and run with it. This is Job chapter 13, verse 14. It says, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. Right? And in application to Esau, right? Applying this to Esau, Edom, you can see the truth in this. The ones who like deep down behind the scenes, those that even fund these institutes and institutions and so on, they do so, right? Going higher up the ladder, they do so knowing that this is BS. But they're the same kind of people who say for these certain schools, you got to teach this. You can't deviate from this curriculum when you're teaching. So, they're not new to the game or new to the field of using deception on the masses. You created an institution, you replace real signs with fake signs, you gain attraction that looks real but is really all paid for anyway, and then you put up this false sense of trust and authority as though you're of some value, but in actuality you're not. It's deception, right? It's built on lies and deception. And this video I just played right here is a very, very, very good example of that. For you to sit here and do this to yourself on camera and actually open your mouth and say that and double down on that, talking about for people like you who believe this, that there is a difference, and how that's been used historically for creating whatever division or whatever it is. You actually did this to yourself. You sat here and allowed yourself to look like this on camera. That's a dangerous thing. But this is an example of why this place needs to go. Because somebody might say, well, she's just talking about, it's just a statement that she made, right? No, the danger is not just this specific topic. It's the fact that this is even a thing. The fact that there's a saying, I forgot who said it. I forgot his name, but he said, yeah, I forgot his name, but he said, anything that can go wrong will go wrong at some point. So using that to make the point that I'm making here, which is, if you can get to a point where somebody is out here, people actually are out here believing this madness and telling you that there is no, according to the science and blah, 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 there is no genetic difference between black women and white women. And that's blatantly against common sense. It's blatantly, it's in the statement itself. The statement like that, the statement you are making to prove your point is disproving your very point. What I mean by that is the fact that when you say black women and white women, you're using the prefix or the black and white to make a distinction between these two. And that's you saying that they're different, right? And what makes them different? Well, how did you convey to the listener that you're talking about two different kinds of women? You said one was white and one was black, right? So if there's no genetic difference, where did that even come from? What's going on there? So anyway, the point is the fact that you can get to a point like this where people believe this and they actually go out and they say this, that's the danger. Because today it may be this, but tomorrow, like I gave an example and I was kind of joking, but it's really a serious thing. Tomorrow they might come out and tell you, look, no, you don't need to believe this, or this isn't really what it is. And you're looking at it and you're like, wait, what? What do you mean? I live this. I'm looking at this and you're telling me that's not what it is. And people will believe it because the science said it. That's the danger. That's the corruption. Because they are, as it says, as we just read here, forgers of lies, and people are believing that. And they're using those lies to sway, right? Like we read in 1 Timothy, to have people erring from the faith. And that's why the Lord is going to bring a reset. See, the destruction the Lord is going to bring, the time of Jacob's trouble, it's going to bring a reset, not just to the physical aspect of the world, but to the spiritual and mental as well. This world needs a mental reset. The people's minds are rotten. They're beyond corrupt. And yes, it affects everybody because you live in it. Even though you don't, you're not a participant of it, it still has effects on you as well. And this is why we need the Lord to do that. So this is, once again, this video is to exemplify one of the many reasons why we eagerly await the return of Yahushua to come and fix this world, because this is a problem. This is the fact that we're even discussing this is a problem. Okay. This is Psalms chapter 82, verse 5. It says, they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. And yes, a lot of people, they are in that dark state of mind, right? Like it says in Isaiah, which I have here, gross darkness is covering the people. This is like a mental thing. They launched psychological warfare on the people a long, long time ago. And they've been using different practices. And I mean, damn, they're so good at it that you don't even realize it. They, let me give you one example, right? Look at the psychology of this. When the demic first started a couple years, but maybe like what, 6 years ago now? Damn, that's crazy. When that started, when you saw people wearing masks on the train, I remember this. When it first started, you looked at them like they themselves were a thing, right? You like, oh, hell no. This person must have something. Well, we got to watch out. Hey, stay away from this person. And then they came out and said, oh, according to the signs and the signs this and the signs that and blah, blah, we're going to get the signs. Fauci came out and said that you got to wear masks and then stay 6 feet apart and so on. And in the beginning, when they were pushing that, people were like, hell no, I'm not wearing no damn mask. You crazy? Like, no, I'm not sick of it. And by the end of it, people refused to even take off their masks. How do you go from people looking at somebody who has a mask on as though they're sick, and then like very, very adamantly being against wearing masks, to now they're wearing face shields, right? With the double mask in the car, windows rolled up. Damn near suffocating and passing out because they refuse to wear it. And now they look at you if you're not wearing one like, oh, yeah, stay away from me. Within a matter of months. That's psychological war. Like they're playing with the minds of people. They've become very, very good at it. Right? They've used different events, different scenarios. They've played it all out, different simulations. They've tested it on the public, and they see what makes people tick, how people react, what groups and niches of people are there. How do you get one group versus another? Like, what do you use for different communities? They've seen all that. Okay. And so I use that to show that when we talk about the mental deterioration, it's not a random thing. No, it's not a random thing. There's actually a concentrated effort going on, a campaign going on to rot the minds of people, to get people to actually become mindless zombies. Like the term mindless zombies, when they talk about a zombie and you think of some like undead, like dead / undead is walk around and shit and they don't know how to think or whatever. That's you. Okay, that's the masses. And you can see that when common sense has become scarce. So they've stripped people of their ability to actually think and instead replaced it with the ability to only rely on what they tell you. They showed this in the movie George Orwell's 1984. If you go and watch it, it's a good movie. It shows you a lot. But in the scene when they tortured the guy, the main character, and they kept shocking his ass, electrocuting his ass, or shocking him until, the whole point was the guy would shock him for hours, and then he would tell him, okay, stop. And then they'll give him a break, and then they'll ask him, right? And he would basically hold up like 4 or 3 fingers. And then he would ask the guy, the main character, how many fingers do I have up? And then he sees 4, and he'll say 4. And then, okay, put him back on there. And he's like, yeah, he's so confused for hours. He's like wondering, wait, I'm confused. What do you want me to say? Like, what's going on here? You have 4 fingers up. You asked me how many fingers you have up. I said 4. You shock my ass. Next time I say 3, you still shock my ass. Until eventually he figured out, well, they don't want you to tell them what you actually see or think. They don't give a damn about that. They don't want the truth. They want you to tell them what they are telling you. And that was the answer. The answer was, it doesn't matter if you see 4 or 3 or 2. It doesn't matter if I'm holding up 1. The answer is what I tell you the answer is. So until he got to the point, he's like, I don't know. Please, I just tell me. I don't know what it is. Like, then they were like, okay, all right, cool. Give him that break. The point here is you don't think for yourself, right? We do the thinking. All you do is what we tell you to do. All you think is what we tell you to think. And all you believe is what we tell you to believe. That is why somebody can get on here and be every single day they come across the actual differences. They're here telling you on TV that there are no differences. It's because we all have the same genes, and based on your environment, that's how you react to it. Yeah, you know that people migrate, right? Literally, you've had people in different parts of the world, all different parts of the world, same different climate, and yet Edomites don't turn into Jake, okay? And we don't suddenly just, the higher you go up on the equator, your skin gets lighter. And what? What are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? Well, the science, really, if you go ahead and they start throwing out the gene names and this, you don't even fully understand that whatever research it is you're doing anyway. Because you know what? None of their research is 100% exact. There's assumptions in there. There's things they've inferred. There's things they had to, guess and throw up in there. So none of your stuff is even exact. And you're going to come to us, and you're going to come to the creator who gave us a source of knowledge, which is the scriptures, and tell us that, nah, don't believe that, believe the science. That's why they walk on in darkness. And that's why the foundations of the earth are out of course, because you have a deceiver, a devil of a people that are ruling. And they have decided they want to switch everything upside down. They want to change times and laws and sit down and really look at what the how easy and simple the Lord made life. The Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. You know what happens today? People are afraid to even engage in sexual intercourse because of the fact that you might have a baby or you might get a chick pregnant. And it's like that's almost become like a death sentence. Oh shit, like people's hearts, in the ancient world, it was the opposite, right? When a woman couldn't or a family couldn't have a child, their heart dropped because of that. Today, it's the opposite. You're like, yo, shit, nah. That's not how the Lord made it. The Lord said, let there be an ayash and an ayashah. Like, I gotta even say this in code. Male and female, created he them. But no, that's not the case. No, there's gender fluid. Right, you gotta have that. You gotta add that. So you got the alternative lifestyle community. That's not how the Lord set it up. That wasn't part of the foundation of the world and the course of the earth. They artificially genetic modification, like everything that the Lord, when you go into the book of Genesis, the way the Lord set things, they have decided to completely change. Okay, and now they're talking about humans are hackable creatures. And so what do they really want to do? If you're telling me that humans are hackable creatures, you're also telling me that you want to hack humans. And you're telling me you want to hack humans, but for what? When you're trying to hack a human, you're trying to, one, get access to them, how they work and so on, but then change them. And when you want to change something, you are inadvertently admitting that in your mind, it's not perfect. It's not right. There's something that requires it to be changed, like whatever the case is. So who the hell are you? You're a creation of the Lord. And the creation is going to tell the other creation, hey, the creator didn't create us right. But me, the creation, I'm going to do a better job than the creator. See that? I was created, but I'm going to do a better job than the one who created me. And then people will sit there and applaud and go to TED Talks about this and fund this and sit there and double down on it and like it's all good out here. This is why the Lord needs to come back. And that's why he's coming back angry with fire and destruction. You don't talk to people like that. You just let that chariot beam come right down on them. This is Isaiah 60 verse 2. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right? And so an example of gross darkness is what I just explained to you. Right? The fact that yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just funny. All right, it was kind of funny, but you know, it's an example that shows you why, once again, this world needs a change. It needs a reset. Because if things continue down this path, just take a look around you, man. People can't even think anymore. People go on Chat GPT and ask Chat, "Hey, what do you think I think about this?" You gonna throw a message in there, you go ask Chat. Yeah, so make it sound like me. Like, what do you think I think? You know, what would I say about this? That's a good point. Okay, yeah, let's use that. And then before, you're thinking of doing something, but it's like, no, let me go and check with Chat GPT first or Claude. Let me check in with that. Hey, I'm thinking of doing this, but what do you think? Nigga, chat. Really, the response should be, nigga, I'm an AI. What the hell do you mean? What do I think? I don't think. I compute. But anyway, I'm just joking around. But it's still a serious issue. So long story short, may the Lord continue to speed up the days, right, and bring that change, right, and then finally bring peace, because this devil is out of control. All right, he's out of control, and I mean, when all is said and done, the world will understand what we mean by that. Except for some people, it'll be too little, too late. So with that, I'm gonna end it here, Lord willing. That was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.